So, hi guys, today we will be dividing radicals and I will introduce quotient rule for you. So this is the rule. What has to happen is that the indexes have to be the same. See, we are dividing two radicals by each other, like the top by the bottom, right? And in order to use the quotient rule, those two radicals have to have the same indexes. So it's n here and n here. For example, 3 here and 3 here. If it's 3 here and 2 here, it's not going to work. It's not like this rule, quotient rule doesn't work. So in this case, when we see a number under the radical and the number under this radical, all we can do is we can put one radical, put the index that was used before, so it's n, and then it's a over b. That's all it is. So using this rule, I'm gonna teach you to divide the actual problems. All right. So what you have to do, you have to divide coefficients, then use the quotient rule, and then simplify the resulting radical. So I'm going to go over the problems that I'm going to go over, and then you will have to deal with the rest of them. And that's how you're going to get your grade. Another thing, what I need to see your name, and then I need to see the work, the way I show it. Okay. So if it's not done the way I show it, you might lose points. I will decide what I'm going to do. But if I don't see your name, I will take the points off for sure. Okay. So let's go ahead. So number 1, 12 can be divided by 2 and the result is 6. Here, 160 is on top. Square root of 5 is on the bottom. So I can use the quotient rule, and that's what it is. It's 160 divided by 5 under the same radical. So it's actually 6 square root of 32. 32 could be split up by 16 and 2. Then I'm going to put 16 and 2 under different radicals. I'm going to take the square root of 16, and it's 4. 4 times the 6 in front of it is 24. Square root of 2 is the final answer for number 1. Number 2. First, I'm going to divide 36 by 9, and I'm going to get 4. Then I'm going to divide 1250 by 2, which will give me 625. And don't forget that you have to use this index 4. Okay. When I take this root, the answer is 5, because 5 to the 4th power is 625. Let's check. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125, times 5 is 625. So this is actually 5. 4 times this 5 is 20. All right, number 3. I'm gonna put everything under the same radical. So it's one radical. We had radical on top, radical on the bottom, but according to quotient rule, we can put one radical and then put all this stuff inside. So now I'm going to divide. X to the 3rd power over x squared is square root of x. Y to the 9th over y to the 5th is y to the 4th. Why? Because 9 minus 5 is 4. Square root of x squared is actually going to be this. 4 goes on top, 2 goes on the bottom, and then square root of x. All I have to do is simplify. It's going to be y squared, because 4 over 2 is 2. Square root of x. Now 48 over 16, I can divide those numbers. 48 over 16 is square root of 3, and this is my final answer. Number 7. Can I divide anything there? Not really. Well, I will have to simplify it then. Okay. Well, I can take a cube root of 64. Cube root of 64 is actually 4. Cube root of y to the 6th power is 6 over 3. And the cube root is just left on the top because we already took the cube root of this number on the bottom, the expression on the bottom. So on the bottom we have 4y squared because 6 over 3 is 2. Now, x to the 5th power can be split up as x to the 3rd and then x to the x squared. I can take the cube root of x to the 3rd power, which is going to be x 3 over 3, and then I'm gonna have the rest of it under the square root. So it's x to the 1st power, which is x. And then I'm just going to copy the rest of it. Okay, let's go and do number 9. And our instructions are telling us to rationalize the denominator. First, we have to understand what it means. Rationalize the denominator means get rid of any roots on the bottom of the fraction. Okay? To do that, we have to multiply the numerator and denominator by the radical. So what will happen? We are going to multiply, you see the square root of 5. So the bottom has to be multiplied by square root of 5 and the top has to be multiplied by the square root of 5. Really, we just multiplied the whole thing by 1 because square root of 5 over square root of 5 is 1. So we didn't really change anything. But we have to rationalize. It means that we have to get rid of the radical on the bottom. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So this is my final answer. I'm going to go over number 10 as well. So what we see here is actually square root of 8 over square root of 15. We see a radical on the bottom. We don't want to see radical on the bottom. Therefore, we're going to multiply the bottom by the same radical and then the top by the same radical that we multiplied the bottom by. So, square root of 15 times square root of 15 is 15. Square root of 8 times square root of 15, give me 1 second, is going to give me square root of 120. Then we have to simplify by splitting this 120 for square root of 4 times square root of 30, because 4 times 30 is 120. And 15 is on the bottom. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 30 over 15. And this is your final answer for number 10. Number 11. Square root of 7 is on the way. We don't want that. We want to get rid of any radical on the bottom. So we're multiplying both top and the bottom by square root of 7. Here we have 4 times 7 because square root of 7 times square root of 7 is 7. Here we can multiply 12 by 7 and it's going to give me 84. So it's square root of 84. And then we have the 3 in front. Now, we want to simplify the square root of 84 by splitting 84 by 4 times 21. 4 times 21 is 84 over 28 because 4 times 7 is 28. Square root of 4 is 2, so it's 3 times 2. Square root of 21 over 28. And then we see the 2 on top, 28 on the bottom. We can reduce it by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 28 divided by 2 is 14. So your final answer is 3 square root of 2 over 14. All right, number 13. We see square root on the bottom that we don't want. We multiply both top and the bottom by square root of 2. But we have to be really careful here. We're dealing with two terms right here. So we have to multiply both terms by square root of 2. Therefore, we're going to use the parentheses. So it's 2 on the bottom because square root times square root of 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So now square root of 8 times square root of 2 is square root of 16 minus square root of 4. Again, what we did, we multiplied square root of 8 by square root of 2. 8 times 2 is 16 under the square root. Negative 2 times 2 is 4, so it's negative square root of 4. Square root of 16 is 4 minus 2, because square root of 4 is 2, over 2. 4 minus 2 is 2, over 2 means 1. What we have to do right here, we have to, you see, the situation is different here. We have a number plus square root. So if we multiply everything by the square root, even the whole expression on the bottom, we will end up with a radical as well. And our goal is to get rid of those radicals. For that, we are going to multiply the bottom by the opposite. And I forgot the word. Maybe I'll remember, but you will see what I'm trying to say. So we're going to put parentheses around here, around these two terms, and we're going to multiply both terms by the opposite. So we see plus here, so we have to multiply by the same thing but minus. 4 minus square root of 2. On the top, we have to do the same thing. So the result here will be this squared, 4 squared, which is 16, minus square root of 2 squared, which is 2. Because square root times square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so it's minus 2. Here, 4 times 4 is 16 minus 4 square root of 2. Okay? So we see that each one of these problems have the radical on top. Not all of them, but some of them. Like this one does. It's okay to have it on the top. It's okay if the numerator has the radical. What we're doing, we are rationalizing the denominators. The denominator cannot have a radical. So all we have to do in this problem is just copy the top and subtract 2 from 16, which is 14. Number 17. We see the same situation. We have two terms on the bottom, so we have to multiplied by the opposite. I still forgot the word. Maybe when I remember, I'm going to put it as notes to the lesson. Okay. So we see 1 minus 4 square root of 2. And we have to multiply it by 1 plus 4 square root of 2. That's the way how we can get rid of that radical on the bottom. So what's going to happen on the bottom, it's 1 squared, which is 1, and then minus, and this expression squared, this thing squared. So it's actually this times this, and we're going to multiply it later. And then square root of 3, because square root of 3 times 1 is square root of 3. Square root of 3 times 4 square root of 2 is going to give me 4 square root of 6. Because square root of 3 times 2 is square root of 6. And 4 goes in front. There's nothing we can do on the top. On the bottom, so we're going to copy it. On the bottom, we have to multiply this. So 4 times 4 is 16. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2, so 16 times 2 is 32. So it's 1 minus 32. 1 minus 32 is negative 31. And then we just copy the top. Let me see if I didn't make any mistakes. This is problem number 17. Nope, I didn't. So it's all good. So the final one is number 19. We see the radical on the bottom. No, it's not. It's something ed. It's just, I just forgot that word. Okay, I will try to remember. So we see the radical on the bottom, and the radical term is one of the two terms, and one of them is not, doesn't have any radical. So in this case, we have to multiply by the opposite, both the top and the bottom. The top had also two terms, so we have to put parentheses around it. It's 2 minus 2 square root of 7. So the bottom will be 2 squared, which is 4, and then minus 2 square root of 7 squared. The top we have to multiply really carefully. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times negative 2 square root of 7 is negative 6 square root of 7. Square root of 7 times 2 is positive 2 square root of 7. And then square root of 7 times negative 2 square root of 7 is going to give me negative 2 square root of 7 times square root of 7. And all we have to do, we have to simplify. So these are like terms. So it's negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. So it's 6 plus minus 4 square root of 7 minus 2 times 7, because this is 7.